This right here is the next great battle.
You know you're watching Ava DuVernay if the film passes what's being called the DuVernay test, which is the racial equivalent of the Bechdel test. To pass the Bechdel test, a movie has to feature at least 2 female characters who talk to each other about something other than a man.
You are already prepared.
And in DuVernay's films, there are always at least 2 people of color who talk to each other about something other than a white person.
Jay-Z's a little overrated, don't you think?
Oh, you know what? You're gonna have to go.
Come on.
The film might incorporate significant moments in Black history.
Segregation in Birmingham. Now, voting in Selma.
Or there's an emphasis on the importance of Black culture, community, and empowerment.
We will not tolerate beating, lynching, burning, raping, pillaging, drugging, mass murdering of blacks.
The protagonist is likely a young Black woman with agency and a complex inner life. She's figuring out her relationship to her family or significant other, or trying to find her place in the world.
Have faith in who you are.
The main character is dealing with the death or disappearance of a beloved matriarch or patriarch.
Sergeant pass. Breast cancer.
With that parental figure gone from her life, she has to stand on her own 2 feet. In A Wrinkle in Time, it's up to Meg to rescue her father after he's taken prisoner by a mysterious force.
You must really miss him.
More than anything in the universe.
At the beginning, the main character is stuck in a rut and has to find a way to change or move on with her life.
It's time to get back out there.
In middle of nowhere, Ruby's been putting her life on hold for her incarcerated husband.
And med school, well, nobody even brings that up anymore because you spend your entire days sitting in the dark apartment by the phone waiting for some Negro to call you from prison, Jesus Lord.
But in the end, she realizes she has to stop waiting for him and put herself first.
I'm not gonna do another 4 years with you.
In I Will Follow, May is packing up the house she shared with her late aunt and thinking about the next steps in her love life and career. DuVernay changes this pattern up slightly in Queen Sugar, so the siblings aren't leaving someone or something, but returning to their father's farm, where they have to confront their issues head-on. So by showing us characters who make major changes and pull their lives together, DuVernay is subtly giving us hope that we can turn things around, even if it feels impossible or like it's too late for us. And this is something that the director knows from experience, since she didn't start directing film until she was in her 30s. And look where she is now.
I was a publicist at first. I observed the directors, and I was like, if that guy can do it, I can do it. He's not that much smarter than me.
The characters feel closed off, sidelined, or diminished by their environment, and that's expressed in the visuals. Characters often appear in the far edge of the frame, which sends the message that they're feeling off balance emotionally, or that they feel marginalized or uncomfortable in their worlds.
What am I supposed to do?
They might be short-sighted, or looking more toward the short side of the frame, while we see a lot of negative space behind them. In Selma, Coretta Scott King is framed this way after she receives a threatening phone call, so the image shows how she feels trapped by the racism aimed at her and her husband. Characters are physically distanced from each other during important conversations or confrontations. They might literally be in different places and talk over the phone, or even if they're in the same place, they might not share the same frame. The camera cuts back and forth between them to heighten their emotional distance from each other. DuVernay does this in Selma when Martin Luther King and Coretta talk about his infidelities.
Do you love any of the others?
No.
So we feel how disconnected they are from each other in their marriage. We get a lot of close-up and lingering shots on characters' faces. DuVernay has said that she's interested in what she calls the terrain of the face, and how the face can reflect characters' inner lives. In Selma, she really lets us look at the protesters' faces, so we're confronted with their humanity, and they don't seem at all anonymous. But she also does this with the racist people who want to deny the protesters their rights, so both sides feel incredibly real and vivid. Characters may be lit minimally or appear in shadowy or darkened spaces. DuVernay has said that she rejects the convention that Black actors always have to be brightly lit. She also films Black actors in natural light or darkness.
In my film, Middle of Nowhere, we were playing with the idea of how black people look in dark rooms. You know, and you know, when I go in my house at night, the light's not on, and what does that look like?
And this willingness to go darker in the visuals allows DuVernay more flexibility for symbolic expressions in her lighting. In the scene in Selma, where Martin Luther King Jr. and Ralph Abernathy talk in a jail cell, they appear mostly in shadow, or with just parts of their faces illuminated. And DuVernay was going for a very specific tone and image in the scene.
Our reference was making it feel like the hull of a slave ship.
So through lighting, she emotionally ties this moment from the civil rights era back to the legacy of slavery. There's a focus on how the prison system affects black people and black families. Queen Sugar's Ralph Angel has recently been released from prison and is struggling to readjust to the outside world.
6 months out of prison, you playing craps in the night.
In Middle of Nowhere, Ruby's trying to maintain a relationship with her husband Derek, who's behind bars.
So what do you think? He's gonna get out? You're gonna live happily ever after?
And the documentary 13th is named after the 13th Amendment, which says slavery is forbidden except as punishment for crime. And it argues that this system is really an extension of slavery.
And a new system has been born again in America, a system of mass incarceration that once again strips millions of poor people, overwhelmingly poor people of color, of the very rights supposedly won in the civil rights movement.
It highlights the voices and contributions of activists or artists. In This Is the Life, DuVernay looks at how the Good Life Cafe in LA became a hub for hip-hop in the 90s.
Everybody was able to come here and just create, wipe your feet at the door, get down together as brothers and sisters and smash.
In 13th, she artfully frames activists Michelle Alexander and Angela Davis with excess headroom. A big arch appears behind Davis while Alexander is in a bright red chair, so these visuals are set up to make the women look regal, as if they're sitting in thrones. In this way, DuVernay treats these women with a reverence and recognition they might not always get. The story is about a family who deeply loves each other, even if there's a lot of resentment or tension between them.
Somebody looking in the window would think we were three strangers sitting here.
DuVernay shows us that we can never really escape our families, and that they often end up being the most influential people in our lives, who know us better than anyone.
Well, there must be something I can do.
You got enough on your plate with everything that's going on back home.
So DuVernay uses stylistic techniques and stories to give us a window into the rich inner lives of characters who tend to be marginalized, who have not been given much screen time in cinema thus far. She celebrates the everyday heroism of leading our lives with strength, empathy, and courage.
Be a warrior.
I'll try.
Hey guys, before we go, we wanted to give a shout out to a movie that we know is very important to Ava DuVernay. It's Julie Dash's Daughters of the Dust, about a Gullah family in the early 20th century.
This was actually the first feature film directed by a black woman to get a wide theatrical release in the US.
Many people also believe it was a direct influence on Beyoncé's Lemonade. So check it out.
Check it out.
See you next time.